Rise and shine, everybody. The weekend is just about upon us. Jason and Alicia here with you to kick off your Friday.
Yeah, and grab your winter coat. Grab all the winter gear, right, John?
Boots and the hats and the socks and the gloves.
Yes, I am wearing my coat. I'm wearing it inside. 53 degrees at 4 o'clock. There's the crash, though. So look at the temperature holding overnight. This is the past 12 hours. And then all of a sudden, clearly a front. So you can see the temperatures have really been dropping quite a bit. So I'm gearing up for the cold air. It is chilly outside because to go along with this temperature drop, we are picking up the winds. Notice Wisconsin, very warm. I think it's pretty obvious that there's that cold front that is going to really move in here. 30 degrees in Ortonville. 54 in Menominee. Twin Cities are in between this. We'll track this drop. We'll, of course, talk about how much snow I'm expecting Saturday and where I think the most is going to fall in your forecast.
Yeah, and John, you were talking about those winds. Take a look at this. This is 35, a stretch just about north of Lakeville. Look at the traffic light. You can see it swaying, and that's some good old rain pelting there. Not a fun commute on that stretch. It's not raining like this everywhere in the metro, but you are going to be dealing with those wet roads, I think, no matter where you go, but especially here. Again, 35, the Lakeville area, moving a little slower because of that rain. Jason?
All right, Jen, thank you very much. If you're just joining us, in the last few hours, we've learned Minnesota Democratic Congressman Dean Phillips is officially launching his presidential campaign.
Yeah, an interview clip posted to Instagram by CBS News 9 hours ago showing Phillips confirming he will, in fact, challenge President Biden for the Democratic nomination.
Are you running for president?
I am. I have to. I think President Biden has done a spectacular job for our country, but it's not about the past. This is an election about the future.
Right now, Phillips is in New Hampshire, and so, as you can see, is our political reporter, John Croman. John, always great to have you here on Sunrise. So the big question is, when is Phillips going to make this official announcement?
When does it go from rumor to reality? It's going to happen here local time at 11:30 Concord at the State House, which would be 10:30 Minnesota time. That's really his last opportunity because today's the filing deadline for anyone who wants to run in the primary in New Hampshire. And so that's his last chance to really make it official and really challenge President Biden in the Democratic primary. Now, a lot of people are going to learn a lot more about Dean Phillips. A lot of us here in Minnesota may already know that, or they are in Minnesota where you guys are. You know, he left the corporate world 6 years ago to enter politics, eventually unseating Republican incumbent Congressman Eric Paulson back in 2018, flipping Minnesota's 3rd district from red to blue for the first time in decades. In Congress, he joined this bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus looking to get past the ideological gridlock in D.C. and try to find common ground with Republicans. He's never a fan of former President Donald Trump, and living through the January 6th pretty much hardened his resolve to make sure that Trump does not win in 2024. And he came to believe that it would be hard for President Biden to win a rematch with Trump, given how polarized things are now. As recently as late August, he said he wanted someone else to run. You might remember he was on Meet the Press saying he would prefer if a bigger name Democrat got into the race, possibly a Midwestern governor. That did not happen. Most of the Democrats are basically behind President Biden at this point, so it looks like Dean has decided to go ahead and do it himself. We knew he'd be making an announcement here today, some kind of announcement, and since his campaign bus was spotted rolling through Ohio earlier this week, it made it more and more clear. Now we're told, we've heard from some sources that the campaign bus got an image makeover just this in the last couple of days, so it may look different when it's revealed. When we see it later today, it may look different than it did in that video that got out and kind of became viral earlier in the week. But we'll see what Dean has to say about all of this coming up, and we'll be giving you coverage throughout the day of how he goes about introducing himself first to New Hampshire voters. Back to you.
And John, has President Biden or the Biden administration had any comment on this suspected run by Phillips?
No, I think they're waiting till it's official. Other Democrats have basically weighed in and say they don't think it's the best idea, or others have just tried to kind of dismiss it as, well, if you're trying to make a point, I guess you can go ahead and make a point, but they don't really see it as, see him as a viable candidate. But It's his job to try to introduce himself. We've talked to some reporters here who got here before we did, and they've talked to some folks in New Hampshire who say they'd like to have a competitive primary on the Democratic side and not just everybody fall behind President Biden at the start.
All right, John, good to see you here on Sunrise. Appreciate your reporting. Look forward to more later on today. Thank you. We're also following new details overnight about the mass shooting in Lewiston, Maine, where 18 people were killed and 13 others were hurt.
The urgent multi-state manhunt for the alleged gunman is now entering its second full day. CC's been tracking the latest developments overnight. CC.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, until suspect Robert Card is found, tens of thousands of Maine residents remain under shelter-in-place orders at this hour, and they've been under those orders for nearly 36 hours. Nearly 15 hours ago, Maine's governor posted on X saying that her administration has launched a dedicated website with resources for Maine people affected by this tragedy. Now, all of this comes as the search continues for Robert Card. We know this morning that Card is facing an arrest warrant for 8 counts of murder and should be considered armed and dangerous. Police say there was a search done at the last known address associated with him. Card wasn't there, but police did find a note. Officials say it wasn't a suicide note, but wouldn't go into what it was. A weapon was also found inside Card's vehicle that was ditched yesterday, but it's unclear if that was used during the 2 shootings. Those in Maine say they just want Card found.
It's just shock, and that is going to wear off. And part of that is getting closure on this first chapter of our recovery, if you would, and that's finding the suspect, bringing him to justice. And then we can focus on closure.
So the big question investigators are also trying to answer this morning is why. They're also questioning if one of the shooting scenes was targeted because a woman associate of Card used to go there. Jason.
All right, Cece Gaines with the latest this morning. Thank you very much. Developing here in the Twin Cities this morning, police in the South Metro are investigating an alleged road rage incident involving a hatchet. MnDOT cameras captured the incident Wednesday night on an exit ramp along Interstate 35 in Lakeville. State Patrol say they got a call of a driver using a hatchet in a road rage incident. They say that driver took off before troopers arrived, but they were stopped a short time later and taken into custody. That man was booked into the Dakota County Jail.
This morning, we're learning more about Allina Health Hospital's latest informational picket that ended 12 hours ago. The pickets outside of Abbott Northwestern, Mercy, and United Hospitals were over proposed staffing and service cuts. The Minnesota Nurses Association says that the nurses are concerned that the proposed changes will affect patient care and increase staffing turnover.
The proposals that Allina is making to the nurses are a huge concern for our patients, and ultimately our patients are going to be affected the most.
Allina Health issued a statement saying in part they are, quote, incredibly grateful for our care teams. They added, quote, in alignment with healthcare best practices for care locally and nationally and in collaboration with trained nurses, we have evaluated operational practices, structures, and staffing levels throughout our healthcare system. Well, in just over 48 hours, the border battle is starting a new chapter. The Vikings head to Green Bay to take on the Packers without Aaron Rodgers there.